actually do in actually making sure that actually these listed firms do not actually force us to give them their pay slips, our current pay slips, when we are going through interview processes?
Thank you very much.
Why do you have a problem giving pay slip? If we were to argue the case,
Okay.
why should people not provide their previous pay slips?
I'll give two answers. Number one, it's equal work, equal pay, which is fundamentally important. That if I am actually doing a certain work and I can prove that actually I'm doing this piece of work equally the same as another person, we need to be contributed the same. And even at the actual convention, Thuli Madonsela said something along the lines of, just because I came in and someone was previously earning 100,000 per month, and I come in because I was previously earning 10,000, and then I don't know, and it happens a lot of, I've been one of those people, and then now you give me 20,000. It's 100% increase, but it's not fair. And actually, I'm gonna be doing the equal work, and I need to be given equal pay. And now the second thing is, and which actually goes to this issue that I keep talking about, is the issue of actual quantification of future incomes of people. And these are some of the things that actually we quantify on a daily basis. We can sue for loss of income actually here. And these are some of the things that I think we just need guidance. I mean, if we had the money, we could have took these things to court all the time, you know, but we don't have money. And some of the struggles has been that people are scared, you know, but then we're not going to be scared forever, and we need guidance as to actually how we can take these things to court if needs be.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and to the leadership. I think I'm going to touch on the nerve, and the CIC has touched on this issue many times, the financial industry. My name is Colin Malema. My background is in information technology with about 20 years experience in IT. I've worked mainly for financial institutions, and two of them, the major banks in South Africa. My first point is, like SCIC has articulated it many times, the financial industry in South Africa is not transformed. And it is not going to transform until something drastically is done. We need leadership. And thank you for the leadership up to so far. However, I'm going to just mention a couple of things. In every newspaper, in every news channel, everywhere we go, we talk about, the issue of unemployment. We're talking about unemployment sitting at about 27-point-something% according to State South Africa, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected. The financial institution companies, especially the banks, they go to India and go hire cheap labor in India. We've got kids that are graduating from FAT colleges, technicons, with good qualification degrees, that they can do the same thing. They go to India, they ship the job to India. People in India do the work. And guess what? We in South Africa, we are actually doing the work for them because we design a system for them. They just go and do the same thing, the basic thing that a kid from Matric can do those things. And no one is challenging them. Pravin Godhan is not challenging these people because he's sitting and dining them each and every night, every day. So we're asking the leadership, guys, we are pleading with you. The guys, the people, and guys, I'm talking on behalf of many people here. I'm not sure whether there are people from from banking industry. There are many people, myself included, I'm not bragging. There are many people with degrees, master's degrees. They do basic admin work. You get a white guy, you've got an Indian guy. Who knows fuck all? Nothing.
Nothing.
Just because he's got the CEO's number, he's got the MD's number on his speed dial, he will tell you what to do. You raise questions, we are marginalized. And they use the same system that is used of everywhere, of a rating system. The manager doesn't like you. No, don't worry, you're 2.5 out of 5. You don't get a bonus, you don't get anything. Black people are marginalized, especially, and leadership, just my parting shot is, this movement, this government in waiting. You've got our support. We're gonna go out there and convince our families. We're gonna convince our friends. We are going to convince our friends, our families. Please continue leading us. We're going to convince our friends, our families, our neighbors to vote for this movement. We want EFF to be the government in 2019. And when you take over, one of the first things to do, I know there are a lot of things to be done in South Africa. As much as Pravin Goran and his cabal can say whatever, we need to transform the financial institution because that is a backbone of every country. They do everything. Tumamina is in his pocket, in their pocket. He's doing everything that they tell him to do. Trevor Manuel does the same thing. Pravin Gordhan is doing the same thing. Lungile Fuzile is the CEO of Standard Bank South Africa, is from Treasury. What do you think? Why did Sim Shabalala call him to become a CEO of Standard Bank South Africa? Because he was doing the same thing for them at Treasury. Now he went there, he's continuing to do the same thing. And he's getting instruction from the Minister of Enterprise, which is Pravin Gordhan. Thank you very much.
I think that was the last hand of the first row. So we must open up a second round. I can see now that you are massaged. No, let's start this side. I covered this side. Yes, we'll start at the back. My sister with the brown tooth. Number 1, number 2, and then number 3, number 4, number 5, and my brother will be number 6. We'll come back for a third round. Everybody will be given a chance.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening to the leadership of the EFF, a movement I love so very much, that I started voting for since 2013. The EFF could win elections and become government, in the next 5 years, all rural schools will be having flushing toilets. But in the meantime, what do we do? How can the EFF assist rural schools at the moment to access and unlock those resources which are already existing in government, and force the Department of Education to make sure that children in rural schools have flushing toilets, they have the dignity. Because even research shows that children who grow up in situations of poverty, their dignity and self-respect is continuously affected to such an extent that because a flushing toilet is such a basic need, those children cannot concentrate in class, they cannot study, they cannot pass, they will remain perpetually locked in poverty. You know, and they will never be able to reach their full potential. So, although I do know that the EFF's goal is to ensure that there is a comprehensive and an integrated approach to human development and economic development, but this is a pressing need. It's a basic need. Even psychologists say you have to take care of basic needs first and foremost before human beings can be psychologically ready to achieve better and greater results in their lives. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bebezi Wabushielo. I'm working in the agricultural sector. I'm going to make comment about the agricultural value chain. The entire value chain system is still not transformed. There is lack of black business empowerment. There is a lot of racism in the industry. Actually, Afrikaans is still the medium of communication. If you are not speaking Afrikaans or not influenced in Afrikaans, it's going to be difficult for you to get promotions. And also, black professionals are still struggling even if they are qualified. Because in terms of when it comes to positions, if you don't have a privilege of growing up in a farm somewhere, you will never ever taste a senior position in this industry. So I'm appealing to the leadership of the EFF to zoom in the industry. Yes, I agree there is laws and policies, but the laws and policies do not speak to those who are in the higher position in the executive. Black professionals are still marginalized, even if they have qualification. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone, my leaders. My name is Bonile Ntlapho. I'm an environmental health practitioner, also known as health inspectors employed by City of Joburg. I would just define what is a health inspector, because most people, they only recognize us when there's an outbreak of something. We are one of those who are taking care of the restaurants, ensuring that the restaurants complies, the daycare centers where your kids attend, they comply. Currently, the health inspectors are under the spotlight. Remember the issue of listeriosis. We had an issue of listeriosis. Everybody was asking themselves, where are the health inspectors? My leadership, according to the WHO standards, one health inspector must attend to about 10,000 population. Yes, one health inspector. And again, in the norms and standards that were created under Department of Health by Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi in South Africa, one health inspector must attend to a population of 15,000. Currently now, in the situation that we're facing here in City of Joburg, it's one health inspector to a population of 30,000. Then we are busy asking yourself, where are the health inspectors? We are having a problem with expired food items in the tuck shop. Everybody's asking themselves, where are the health inspectors? We are there, but we are so overworked. And again, under the City of Joburg, I'm going to be on the spotlight. I'm representing some of them. We've been crying about the petrol allowance. The system that they're using 1992 AA rates of petrol, whereby we are getting about 300 rand for a per running cost of petrol in a month. What am I going to do with a petrol of 300? I have daycare centers to attend. I have schools. I have so many restaurants, tuck shop. As you can see in our township, the tuck shops sprawling all over, they are growing. Then again, one of our issues that we are facing are the health inspectors of City of Joburg. In all three municipalities, we are one of the lowest paid. We are requesting from the leadership of the EFF, if you can only take a look at that, we would also like to be benchmarked with City of Tshwane health inspectors or City of Ekurhuleni health inspectors, because at least they do get better petrol allowance. And yes, that's it. I hope, since you are in government in waiting, I hope our cries will be heard. We just want to work for our communities. We saw what happened. The mayor was twittering about a person working with a trolley full of scopes, and we're asking ourselves, where are the health inspectors? We are there. We can only do as much but we can't, we are so overworked. There's nothing wrong with people selling amascopo out there, just they need an education for them to comply. We were raised by our mamas selling the product of my mother was selling food in the street. She able to send me to university. So leadership just, we as EHPs, we call ourselves environmental health practitioners, but people identify us as health inspectors. Just take note of that. Petrol allowance, benchmark us with our colleagues. The minister during the listeriosis outbreak, he did mention that there's a shortage of 4,000 health inspectors in South Africa. Yes, there is a shortage, because in City of Joburg, we are doing triple the job that is supposed to be done by one person. We have our colleagues who are sitting at home, they're not doing anything, they don't have community services. Where are you going to work if you cannot get e-community service? It's the responsibility of Minister to ensure that our colleagues get employment, e-community service. Yes, thank you.
No, who says?
Hello, igama lami nguLethu from Ewulwet's Cafe. Okay, sifacana nama-challenges amaningi. One is ukuthi they don't hire kakhulu abantu bala eSouth Africa. They hire people from Zimbabwe and so on. And ama-challenges esifacana nawo thina as people bala eSouth Africa, it's like mabaqale bayenza ama-promotions, they don't do them kubantu bala eSouth Africa, they decide ukuthi bawakhiphele ngaphandle. And then mangabe sebaqasha mabayenza a-manager, bathatha umlungu wala eSouth Africa bamenze manager. Ekubeni sibafakile vele laba abangaphandle amaZimbabwe ukuthi babe ama-manager, ukuthi laba baba ama-regional. And then nabo basuke bangaphathekile kahle, because bageta ukuthi bafacane nama-challenges amaningi throughout our customers and so long people. So mina into engayithanda ukuyibona ukuthi ngapha ka-EFF ukuthi vele lami bangibiza umadikizela-ke emsebenzini ukuthi yathanda ukulwela abantu bala eSouth Africa and yathanda ukulwela isizwe sethu. So bengathanda ukuthi ubaba angasivulela at least i-union, so that people bangakwazi at least ukujoyina i-union and then izokwazi ukulwela abantu bangapha and then sichubekele phambili. Yabonga.
Is the last one. It's number 5.
Good evening, leadership. My name is Charlotte Seromula. I'm a peer councillor in Eguruleni. So I just want to raise this point or this item that it's a worrisome to me. We are working within communities where you find that youth unemployment rate is very high. And when you check, you find that the reason why we have got so much youth unemployment is because of the issue of the work experience. So I would propose, if possible, that in terms of policy formulation, our leadership in the election manifesto, they should formulate a policy that will address the issue of work experience. Because most of the youth that are roaming around in the communities, they've got degrees, they are able, they are capable, but where are they going to get the experience? So I would really be happy if the policy can be formulated that can address the issue of work experience. And then the second point that is also worrisome that we find in communities, the issue of women empowerment is very critical. We work with communities where you find that most of the women in the informal settlements, or let me use community, they are not working. And then most of the households are female-headed households. So it's a serious problem, because if women are not empowered, you can imagine what will happen. So I would really request that in terms of the policy formulation in the election manifesto, the issue of gender mainstreaming is touched so that it can assist in empowering the women in our communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Program Director. My question or comment is regarding the structural disposition in terms of black professionals. It is worrisome that in 2018 we have guys that we went to varsity with, we get into the workplace, and but when you get to the workplace, you find that you expect the guys who have been in the industry for over 40 years to be occupying those positions. But now when you're talking of transformation, and we're supposed to be transforming from a guy that I went to varsity with, and I need to then be an EE employee, it does not make sense to say, this guy just graduated, he was parachuted into an executive position. Why are there no job reservations, perhaps, for black professionals? If we are concerned about protecting industries, who is going to run those industries? We need to protect, we need to reverse the engineering of apartheid, and also say, if we are amending Section 25 to address the disposition, then it means we also need to get into the workplace and say there was job reservations for the white boers, and now there needs to be job reservation for black professionals, so that all these industries, when you're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, all these industries can have a transformative agenda embedded in them, because you'll have black children who were raised by Bobo Mewar Isango Strada, who understand the struggle, who are then able to facilitate solutions that will address exactly that. Right now, every sector in this country is frustrated. Even Lego Bolo, the best soccer players, but now we have these guys that have a belly as big as mine in the pitch. It doesn't make sense. We can't have a population where only 10% are able to rise or have an opportunity to rise. Thank you.
My brother there with the blue, yes, number 1, followed by my sister there, number 2, number 3, there at the back there, yes, number 4, number 5, number 6. Number 1.
Thank you. My name is Noah Debela. Greetings to everyone, and greetings to the EFF leadership. I want to touch on 2 points. Firstly being Section 25 with regards to the Employment Equity Act. As you know, the Employment Equity Act is currently in Parliament for amendment, and the public comments closed on the 20th of November. Section 25 leaders, fighters gives the Minister of Labour power to cancel any contract with any public contract with any company which is not complying with the Employment Equity Act. So we need to take this particular act very, very seriously moving forward. And I think that if the EFF can just pay attention to this particular legislation coming through, it can really get their attention in terms of the professional voting bloc moving forward into the elections. But on top of that section is actually the issue of the certificate of compliance, to say, how is a company classified as being compliant with the Employment Equity Act? Because that's where the real badness is actually going to be taking place when we deal with the regulations. So I think we need to be on our toes in terms of that particular section. The second point I want to touch on is the issue of equal pay for equal work. What we have is a situation whereby the average white male will earn 30,000 rand per month, whereas the average black man will earn 8,000 rand. On top of that, we also have an issue within genders, whereby the average black woman would earn 30% less than the average male. So if we're saying the average black man is earning 8,000 rand a month, that means the average woman will be earning 5,000 rand or less. So we need to look at that particular issue. So if we can take the two concurrently, then we can really take the vote in terms of the professional classes forward.
Molweni igama Mulindelwa, and I come from the corporate sector, financial sector. We have become very subdued, Diacinda. Facilitator black women empowerment. It has become such a cliche. So upon the Kwanamna is we senior management. What I find is that because of the attrition, we are, it's like a damned if you do and damned if you don't. Empower the people that we call millennials. It has become so difficult with professionalism because so you find that the senior people leave, as consultants. And in that instance, it makes it very difficult because firstly, they do not transfer skills because they want to hoard the experience. So abantwana abakwazi ufunda from them. And having to bring them back is a problem for us because it means the experience is hleli nabo, abantwana bethu are left to do the mundane and the administrative work. So ndifuna ukwazi ke from leadership yethu going forward, because it has become a very subtle, suicidal, corporate issue. We have become very fatigued and complacent because of this thing, attrition, which people then bathi bayabuya. Ndifuna ukwazi ba how are you going to help us uba sikwazi umotivator to upskill abantwana, but also ensure that when these people leave, they leave for good, bayotya imali zabo, because they've worked for a good 20-30 years for le mali, so that abantwana bazongena nabo ku mainstream and we make our money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, leadership, and good evening, everyone. I'm standing on behalf of the young legal professionals. There is a discrimination that we are facing. When you look at the requirements, they will tell you that they want you to have a driver's license, your own vehicle, and you must be fluent or be able to speak Afrikaans. And this is a graduate, someone who's supposed to get articles. Or so if my parents couldn't take me to university, and in order for you to give me work, you tell me that you want me to have a driver's license and to have my own vehicle, where will I get those? So it is indirect discrimination because they know who they are targeting. With university, you know the kids who are driving cars, and as black people, we don't drive cars. So if there's a requirement that says, in order for me to give you an employment as a graduate, you must have your own driver's license, your own vehicle. I think I'm appealing to the government in waiting that they should do away with such requirements. I have many colleagues who are sitting at home because they don't have a driver's license, because they don't have their vehicles, and they are unable to get work. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Vincent Lishawan from the engineering field, working in a private sector for the petrochemical industry. I know a lot of talented black professionals in this field. However, they tend to change careers and go to finance or go and work for other government institutions because they feel like their potential is not recognized, or they are not being awarded accordingly by those who dominate in this field. So what is the EFF's plan to support talented engineers that have a vision to start engineering business from scratch and grow it so that they can be able to employ future black engineers? Thank you.
Number 5.
Good evening, leadership. In our manifesto, I'd like to speak to the issue of a mandate, Yama developmental finance institutions. Developmental financial institutions, I'm talking about your IDC, your NEF, and all those guys, the CFAs of this world. This is important because now it speaks to basically the empowerment and the creation of black business. Because what is happening, since I remember when they were launching in the Department of Small Business, they had an interview with, what's his name, Yanni Morton. Yanni Morton is one of these guys, the Stellenbosch Mafia. It's the PSG group. So this guy, in that article, he says to them, no, they can start a small business department, but they'll never achieve anything because they've never started any business themselves. All they'll do, they'll fly there, they'll fly here and there, buy bottled water, they'll never do anything. And it's almost the end of the term of this government. And I've not seen any tangible thing to show the small enterprise department that has achieved anything in empowering small businesses and more especially black businesses. Because this is very important so that we also get into the mainstream economy. We need funding. Because what we do with these developmental financial institutions, they employ us as black people, okay, they run them and whatnot, but then their mandate is different. It should be different from the normal commercial banks. Because when you go there, let's say you've got a proposal, you want to get funding for your business, your startup, and more especially us, our businesses are startups, because we don't have that capital, whatever is relevant to the beginning businesses and whatnot and whatnot. So they'll evaluate you on the criteria used by commercial banks. And normally commercial banks, as a matter of principle, they don't fund black people. They don't. It's a matter of principle. I used to work for Netbank. And you know what they do, these guys? I used to work for small enterprise, for small business division. There was one of their clients was a West End client. It was a, what you call this thing, a guest house. This thing was struggling, like struggling. But what they do, these people, so that they make sure that their businesses succeed. Like whites, they make, like, there's no reason that a white business can fail because of this lack of money. That will never happen. For as long as there's Netbank, there's Standard Bank, and all of them. This guy was failing, was not making any profits, was not progressing in his business. But they kept on pumping money. They pump money, up until this business works. So that's a model we should take as well. Because these things are owned by the government, and this government, I believe, it's for black people. We must take this very same model that they are using, these white guys, to monopolize the economy. Use these developmental financial institutions for us to also get into the economy. Okay, that's number 1. Second is just a request from the leadership. I was involved in 2016 local government elections and all that. So what we do at our branches, we don't necessarily get proper training on what we should look for when we're at the voting stations in terms of when we say vote and whatnot and whatnot. I was hoping to suggest to leadership, can't they create a template for us? Like a one-pager template to say, when we're at the voting stations, these are the things we should look for. These are the things we should tick. You know what I'm saying? What I'm trying to say is, to get my drift. Like so that everyone should be on the same page. Because we go there, we're not trained well. We don't know what to look for when we go to the voting station. We don't know what to do and things like that. Like just get a template, a one-page template to say.
Noted.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And thirdly, no, this is the last one. And this is
you can come on the next round.
Okay, no, that's fine, thanks.
Number 6. No, number 5, number 6. Yes. That.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen, and the leadership of the EFL. My name is Nyambeni Awolon Marobini. I'm working in the engineering sector. I've worked for CSIR as a product developer. I've also worked for African Defense System in Midrand, and now I'm working for the Netherlands System, the company that Praveen is refusing to give money. Every month, we are wondering where our salary will come from. Maybe EFF can do something about that. One thing that I want to talk about is the treatment that young engineers get in the engineering space. You know, as a black person, you are required to have a qualification. That is a must. Secondly, you will be required to have experience at least to earn a better salary. And then once you get an experience, you get hired and then you go into training, which is perpetual. It never ends. So you will never become an expert in engineering. It just, you get trained. They will say, we are training you to design a gear. And then after 2 or 3 years, they shift you. We are training you now to design a brake or something like that. So that training is perpetual. It never stops as a black person. And then what is shocking, this is true, you can go and do research. It's true. What is shocking is that for white people and Indian people, no qualification is required. What I'm saying, maybe it might put me in trouble, but even at Dinel, where they design weapons, there are white people without qualification, but they are experts. There was a black guy who had a mechanical engineering master's. That is not a child play. A master's in engineering is something very much difficult. But that guy was put in perpetual training. He even tried to do MLB. I mean, what do you call it? MBL. Still, he was in a perpetual training. He had to left the company. For myself, I was put in perpetual training at CSIR. I left. I went to Midrand. I was even put still in perpetual training. When I got to Dinel, I refused that perpetual training. And guess what? I was labeled as a rebel. I'm working for Dinel now for my 10th year. I've never been promoted because I'm a rebel. Every time when I question that, my things are put aside. So, the government in waiting, please let's look at that in future. How do we go forward with the engineering students, especially particular black ones? How can we make them to make sure that they progress in that field? My second point is a plea to everybody, especially in the law society. What one would Afri Forum. Serious. Every time when I see about Afri Forum challenging EFF, it's like I can take a gun and shoot somebody. That is serious. These people, they are taking advantage of they know law. What are we doing as black people to study that law and also challenge them? It's not impossible. These people, they went overseas and lied about South Africa. Can't they be prosecuted for that? Can't we formulate something? Lastly, my leadership, there are a lot of problems that we face as disabled people. I won't talk about them here because this is not the forum. Can we have a proper forum for disabled people and where we can talk as professionals? Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nonga Dokeza. I'm a professional in the mining industry. My challenge, I think I'm going to reiterate what has already been said. My challenge is transformation, and transformation specifically looking at employees. There is a ceiling for black people within the corporate sector. Black people cannot go above senior management. I mean, if you look at EXCO, it's all white. And a lot of corporate organizations, organizations prefer Indians for transformation over black people. And that is a challenge. So we left at middle management. As a black person, that's how far you can go in corporate is middle management. Beyond that, maybe you'll be the lucky one that will be piloted to sit on an EXCO level to say, yes, we have transformed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are going for the program.
level, it's 1 black, either female or male, to 20 white mixed. So that gives you your chances into entering the workplace. Upon entering the workplace, the work conditions are just bad. There's no representation for architectural work. It's bad, it's bad. Most of graduates that I graduated with have opted to do a postgraduate certificate in education, and most of them have gone to work abroad. That's just one issue. The second issue, I think is a direct question to the EFF, is that what would you do about instilling ethics for people who actually work for government? Because that is a very serious issue. What I find is that with the youth that join government institutions, there's a lot of rot. And immediately when you come with your fresh, proper knowledge that you've gained from university, from experience, and you find people doing bad things, like the irregular things, and you raise it, you are cast out immediately because you are a troublemaker, or you'll expose people for what they are doing. And I find for a lot of young people who they join, feel that they have to associate and agree to those practices in order to make a living, instead of actually opposing it. It's very difficult to oppose it, because it's either you oppose it and you're out, or you stay with it and you assist them, and you actually progress. This is in the government institutions. The third thing, why the ethics is a serious problem to me, is that I think there's a lady who spoke about long jobs. I will tell you that there are people who have been working, and black people who have been working in the industry for 10, 15 years, who will very easily overlook a long drop because they have friends who are service providers that they have whatever they do with them. So it's easier to pay the service provider than to actually care about removing that long drop, even when the money is there. It's not the goal. The goal is to make sure that whoever has whatever interests in place are achieved. So my concern is that I think even when building a group of people, an association, you can never have people who are 100% committed, but how will you instill ethics? And it's a very important question, because again, I find that my colleagues who are young as me, who do not want to partake in those things, the byproduct is that bad service delivery. If you do not, that is the advice that I got. If you don't want to be in trouble, don't work. Don't show up to work. Don't involve yourself in projects. Don't take initiative. Don't learn anything. There are many graduates who do not get any work experience because they will keep information away from you, because you're young, you have ethics, you have your morals in place. You will pick up the wrong things very quickly. So they will keep that away from you. You're not going to gain experience. And then I find it as career, they are strangling your career. It's career suicide, because you are left with either I join them or either I stay away. Yeah, I think those are my issues.
Thank you very much. Number 4.
Right, I'll try. Evening, leadership and fighters. My name is Tsepo Tswai. I also work for the NEL Land Systems. I'm a project manager by profession in the electrical engineering side. And then on the side, I'm into fashion. Maybe I steal a moment to advertise myself. I have a business called St. Stephen. We do suits, hint leadership. What I want to talk about, maybe on a serious issue, it's I'm concerned with the current government when it comes to gender-based violence. It's something that's very close to my heart. I grew up raised by Nkhono Kundrum, Lemama. I had a father as well who was very involved. It's just that he worked, Mojove, as in Komakoi. So, but I was raised by women. I mean, when I say women, I'm talking about aunts, grannies, even sisters. And it's very, very worrying for me when I grow up and to see us as men, because I know I'm not the only one who was raised by women. I mean, to all of a sudden do a 180 degree and abuse people who are raising us. It's very concerning. And it's something that I think the current government is struggling to deal with. Gender-based violence, it's on a high and it's growing, and I think it stems from the patriarchal society that we're still embracing. And I think we need to pull as a strong stand, and I think maybe it should even start from the movement of EFF to say, you know what, let's not have patriarchy, and I think the leadership of EFF is doing a good job, but it must go down to our societies. Some of us are even scared to have kids, just in case we have daughters that might be raped. That it's very scary. We have sisters, we have mothers that are being abused. And we can't build a nation if we're not protecting our women. So please, let's make sure when the EFF goes into power next year, we prioritize in protecting our women and make sure that the crime against women, it's taken seriously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dumelang. Leina la ka ke Sekgopisa Nyonya. I am very much touched, and I want to apologize on behalf of the baby boomers that we have failed to as youth of South Africa. We were once in the streets of South Africa fighting for apartheid to die, and we have failed our children, and we are very sorry. 24 years in democracy, and I'm still hearing native South African professionals complaining so bitterly about transformation, about being marginalized, and many, many, many other things. We have failed you, and we are very, very sorry. It's time that we give this leadership to you, our children, to make decisions that will be comfortable for you, and that you should be able to run this country to your own benefit. There was something called Black Power during our time. That is the one that disabled the white supremacy to get us where we are today, to be able to be where we are today. But unfortunately, we have forgotten where we come from, and it saddens me. My leadership, EFF, can we do something about it? My children around here, you've got power. Don't forget that. You've got power. You are consumers of white products. Stop it. Stop it. Can you stop consuming their products and kill their economy? Bring your economy and your power back. This is the time. You buy their products. Refuse with your money. Check your fellow black entrepreneur and use your money there. You've got the power. Can we stop complaining and pointing fingers to them and just look at ourselves and own ourselves and take that power? I am saddened today that after 24 years of democracy, we are still talking about things that we were talking about in 1976. This is saddening and it's sick. I would like to ask you to start becoming consumer conscious. This is where you're going to weaken the power of the white people. Be conscious. Stand
your money wisely. The second point that I want to bring it to is just to educate you about insurance companies. You pay insurance on a daily basis. When you want to claim your money, they choose a service provider for you. They have no right to do that. You've got a right to choose your own service provider. And they've made a policy chain to ensure that they keep the money within themselves from our own pockets. That money that you give to insurance policy, every month, it's your money. It's your money, and when you want to claim for it, make sure that you can choose your own service provider. It is your right. It's not the insurance policy's right. This is just an education that I want to give to you. And I believe in this youth. I know 2 minutes has gone past, but I've been living for many years for me to talk for 2 minutes. I'm sorry. I actually feel like we have failed you so much, and it is our responsibility to actually highlight things that you can pull and own them as the youth of South Africa. I would like the leadership, this is my last point, to ensure that when they get into power, they make sure that the integration of African traditional medicine within the public health sector, it is actually looked at and given a chance. We are sitting here embracing Ayurveda from India, embracing Chinese medicine, and we don't embrace our own. We have lied as government to World Health Organization saying that we've got African traditional policy that works in South Africa. If you read on WHO, you will hear that we've got a policy and we have nothing. We've got zero. This is a separate matter that I would like to take it forth in another situation with the leadership. I'm an African traditional healer with a PhD in waiting.
Thank you very much, Gauteng SG, for the opportunity. Good evening to all the fighters. My name is Bongani Mabizela. I'm a civil engineer with more than 20 years of experience in the field. I wish to first and foremost commend the EFF for engaging professionals when I see this audience on its manifesto prior to elections 2019, but also for being the government in waiting. I believe in this party. My question, maybe not necessarily a question, but my contribution is very important on, or bordering on the issues of policy. I think we need to articulate some of our policy points on some key fundamental issues that are driving the country. And one of them is the economy. How to get our youth in the mainstream of our economic activities. Statistics have revealed that about 65% of our voters, as we are going to 2019, is youth. Basically, youth has got the power to change government come 2019. And we need to seriously consider that we get our youth involved and to participate in the mainstream of our economy. Creation of an enabling environment, for youth employment and youth businesses. I think we need to make sure that we consciously make it a point to promote our youth businesses. Unemployment of graduates. We've got many graduates, and probably some of them are sitting here, that are unemployed. We are doing our little bit in our companies, isolatedly so, but there is more that needs to be done, and our government needs to assist us, amongst others,
in dealing with that. Our township economy is dead. Amongst others, why it makes it dead, it's because of so many foreigners that have been allowed to take over. They've taken over on all the villages. And if they haven't come to yours, wait, they are on your doorstep. I can tell you they are coming. Another area is the hospitality industry. You go to hotels, you go to restaurants. We don't hate our foreign brothers and sisters. We love them. We know the contributions that they've made in order for us to get to where we are. But we are saying South Africans must take precedence or must be prioritized when it comes to employment in those sectors. The other point on the economy, which is very, very serious, our current government is allowing the Chinese to take over our country. If we are not careful, China is our next colonizers, and it's real. Go through to other African countries where they are operating, how they operate, how their operational system is. They will give you money, yes, soft loans as they are providing to us. There are terms and conditions. Soon, those soft loans will become very difficult to pay back. Because by which time you're giving sovereign government guarantees, and by which time you'll find you're already locked with them and you've got no way to get out. So we need to be careful about that, and we need to conscientize our people as well. They're coming with money, but also they are coming with cheap labor. Chinese are all over the country, and they are not fearful of getting into the darkest or the narrowest or the smallest or the strangest of the villages that you'll find in our country. They are there. Sorry about that. I'm almost finishing. The other point that I want us to also look into, in particular insofar as policy matters are concerned, transport. I specialize on transport and road infrastructure. One of the issues that our government currently, unfortunately did, when they took over from the apartheid government, the rail system was operating very well. Our rail system is down. It's almost collapsing. Road versus rail. How to get people from Johannesburg to Polokwane. You can only get them through buses or through road mode of transport. There's no train. There used to be, but there's no train anymore now. Instead of making sure that we improve, but we've regressed, we've gone backwards. So we need to address that. The issues of, amongst others, e-tolls in Gauteng has become a playboy for political parties. We need to articulate our position very clearly. The other one, taxi industry. 65% of our commuters in South Africa are being transported by this mode of transport. But government is doing nothing insofar as subsidizing this industry, and yet the buses and other modes of transport are getting huge subsidies. Is it because it's black originated or created? Why? And yet we've got a black government. Education system, somebody already touched on that. I'm not going to dwell too much on that. Safety and security is another very, very serious matter. High level of crime in our country. Women and children abuse. What are we doing about it? What are we going to do about it? Yes, we get into government 2019. Then what next? The last, or the almost last one, yes. Home Affairs. There are so many illegal immigrants in South Africa, undocumented. And unfortunately, there is so much of that that is aligned or very closely linked to crime as well in our country because of that. How do we come up with a system that can assist us to make sure that we document each and every immigrant that is in the country, even if it means we open a window, you know, of giving them grace or giving them, exactly, you know, that they come forward and declare themselves and we legalize them properly so that they conduct business or they do other activities in our country legally. Okay? Border management, our borders are porous. All right? We're allowing every Tom, Dick and Harry to come into our country. We're like a banana republic. I was very fortunate up until recently. I've been chairing the Immigration Advisory Board of the Department of Home Affairs, appointed by the former minister. And I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to that, because I've been also instrumental in, amongst others, assisting in coming up with legislation to deal with some of these issues. The last but The last one is real estate. Real estate is a very serious issue, colleagues. Our shopping centers, as we are talking about Black Friday today, all of them are predominantly and dominated, and it's a close cabal of whites that are running them. And when, even on soft services, take security, take cleaning, take plumbing, whatever that you can think of, they are done by their own. They are not blacks. There is Fidelity, there is Bidvest, there is these big companies, only them. What are we doing about it? It's our people that are consuming products from these, shopping centers. What are we doing about it? What are our policy position when it comes to all of these matters? I would like us to look into that. And of course, we as professionals are willing also to contribute and to partner with this movement to make sure that South Africa prospers. Thank you.
We are going to give our leadership the opportunity to come and address us. The Deputy President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Commissar Floyd Nugos, the podium is yours. Thank you.
Mandla. Viva EFF, viva. Viva. Viva the economic emancipation movement, viva. Viva. Viva the economic emancipation movement, viva. Viva. Forward to total freedom, forward. Forward. Forward to total economic emancipation, forward. Forward. No, thank you very much, the Provincial Secretary of the EFF here in Gauteng, and the National Chairperson, members of the CCT, of the PCT, of RCT, PCTs, and most importantly, the professionals. And Comrade President, the phase of election that we're in is called the Mamela phase. So it's the phase where we are listening to the input, and I would think that the President is going to speak to some of the issues that we had raised. I just want to make, before I call him to the stage, few observations in terms of the areas which we are responsible for. So as a Deputy President in the EFF, we are responsible for the governance task unit, which closely monitors all the work of the EFF in the councils, in the provincial legislatures, in the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. So everything that deals with that, we closely monitor that with a committee that is constituted by other leaders of the EFF in provinces and regions. I want to quickly speak about the aspects which I think, from a governance point of view, should either be looked into in the immediate or as a long-term perspective should be dealt with. The leadership of the caucus of Johannesburg is here. I would think that latest by Monday, they should have raised the issue of the health inspectors and their conditions there. That if there's a wrong remuneration model that is being utilized there and allowances that are being given to them, a 1992 model, there should be immediate interventions. So the chairperson of Johannesburg should give us a report in that regard immediately in terms of what we do, because the voice of the EFF in the city of Johannesburg is louder, it's stronger, it has got bigger weight. It's not a secret that our voice is weighty, because sometimes not complying with the voice of the EFF might have very huge consequences in those that are listening. The most important thing which I would think as professionals in different sectors we should do and look into is what form should legislation take? What shape should laws take? Because majority of the times we complain about the laws. Like if there's one thing which would encourage professionals for economic freedom to closely pay attention to, is to say, what are the weaknesses in the legislation that governs your industry? What has to be changed to make it better? And then you then submit that to the EFF, and then we then table legislation as private members' bills, as committee bills, and in all spheres of government. So we have built enough capacity in the 5 years of participating in Parliament to draft legislation, coherent, clear legislation, and argue on that. And this basically prepares us to be a proper government when we take over, or participate in government from 2019 onwards. We shouldn't be like the liberation movement, which got into government and found a lot of legislations, apartheid legislations. They tried to repeal some of them, but we was talking today, you still have more than 3,000 apartheid legislation that are in effect on various sectors. Like in the financial sector, you've got the Insolvency Act, the Sequestration Act, which were passed in the 1930s. On virtually all sectors that you're speaking about here, you've got apartheid legislations that are existing. So the ruling party has spectacularly demonstrated that they are unable to reverse what they inherited from apartheid. We have to change that. It becomes our obligation. There's not even an attempt to do it. So I would think that the base of professionals that associate with the economic emancipation movement should assist in terms of identifying the legislations that are hindrances in your own sectors. And you say that leadership here is the legislation which has to be changed. In many instances, when we then table that, there are very few normal people who will oppose them. Those kinds of legislations, then we can then begin to normalize society in the manner in which it's supposed to be. I would think that, you know, with minimal success of implementation of black economic empowerment, which is a wrong model, and maybe there must be Black Economic Ownership Act of Parliament. Why isn't there a women economic empowerment or women economic ownership act of Parliament, which becomes compulsory for companies who are going to do business with the state to have some degree of women ownership and control? And this is one of the major issues, because now a BEE status becomes a certificate that permits you to procure with the state. Why isn't there a component that compels women ownership and leadership of the companies that do business with the state? Because there is huge economic disparities between women and men in society. It's possibly wider than the economic differences between the black and white. And that's one of the aspects that in the immediate which we should look into. I was concerned earlier that we might be drifting towards the wrong direction, but I think that all of us understand that the ultimate aim will be to deconstruct the white capitalist establishment as is. It shouldn't be that as black people, our obsession is how do we improve the lives of black professionals in a white capitalist system. Because for you to improve your lives, like all these things that are talking about, that someone whom you are more experienced than will arrive, is white, becomes your senior immediately. It's because South Africa is a white capitalist society. And there's not been much progress in deconstructing that. I would think that at the center of what the EFF fights and stands for is to deconstruct the white capitalist system and in a manner that is sustainable. And lastly, President, as we call it, is I fully agree with the Mama in terms of black economic solidarity. We might need to talk about that maybe at a different platform. That we as black consumers are the ones who are feeding white economic arrogance, who are the ones we are feeding into white economic dominance, because all these white monopoly capitalists are dependent largely on black consumers, from the insurance sector, the banking sector, the automobile sector, the textile sector, virtually everything else that we do. We work very hard, earn little salaries, and go and enrich the white capitalist system. Maybe a different model must be called for, so that we can have an independent and self-sustaining economic emancipation struggle that will empower all of us as black people. We cannot turn a blind eye on the racial composition, the ethno-racial composition of South Africa's capitalism. It's one of the things that we must look into. Comrade President, it's your turn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President, the National Chairperson, members of the Provincial Command Team, the regional leadership is also here. I also take it for granted that the branch leadership of this hosting branch is here. And our brothers and sisters who have gone to school to learn in different fields which are relevant to our economy, and including those who assumed the status of professionals without going to school, because for you to be a professional, you don't have to be an educated person. You can assume that status by how you discharge your responsibilities. Not that education is not important. Education is very, very, very important. But we should also recognize those who might not have received formal education. So what we're doing here is to collect ideas from the people who are directly involved in these things. So be it in engineering, be it doctors, teachers, nurses, the health inspectors. You ought to tell us what needs to happen when you take over power. And in the financial sector meeting, they said, we don't want you to wait to take power. You must act now, even when you are not in power. Because certain things do not require us to be in power. They just need political leadership. And exactly what our Deputy President did, and he told the chairperson of Johannesburg to go and help the health inspectors. You don't have to be in power to do that. That people must be paid properly, that they cannot use 300 rand the whole month to inspect Johannesburg, because Johannesburg is not Bluebell in a Limpopo, in some village where there are 40 shops. You can't do that. Johannesburg, it's where things are happening. There's too much business here, and it must be inspected. Both formal and informal, by the way. I was saying to informal traders, there's nothing wrong, Mashawa said, about that person who was pulling the scope. Because we shouldn't protect the wrong things. That food is going to be fed to our people. That's where she comes in, not to destroy scope, to teach how they can process the whole thing of scope, so that they don't cause diseases amongst our people. There is no white person who's going to consume scope. It's black people. And therefore, the black people must be respected. The food that is going to be given to black people must be processed in a proper manner, in a manner that shows that even the hand that prepares this food respects itself. Because it starts with you. You have to will you eat this food? If you can't eat this food, why do you sell it to other people? So we need to also instill that culture amongst ourselves. Majority of our people who work for black people do not have a culture of professionalism. If you find a black engineer working for a white firm and you identify this talent which is underrated by white bosses, and you say, come and work for a black firm, that skill just disappears. You don't know what happened to this fellow. Like this comrade was so well when he was working for white people. All of a sudden there is a problem. We have no respect for each other. And that's where it starts. Before DP and Mama we go to deal with the white people's things, there must be a proper network of service amongst ourselves, because these whites come because there is absence of professionalism amongst us. I'm not going to take my grandmother to a black hospital where I know that the doctors who are on standby are 2 hours away from the hospital. But it's on standby. And most of you sitting here, you have heard in many occasions, when you are in a hospital, the doctor is coming, the doctor is coming, the doctor is coming. The guy is in Pretoria, is working in a hospital in Polokwane. And then this old woman must die because of blackness. It can't be correct. That thing of standby is properly defined, that you must not be away from a radius that is like more than 1 hour or something like that. But our people just go away. You give work to black lawyers. A simple thing of discharging a letter, it will not be done. So if you are an attorney, and by 11 o'clock you are at home, then you must know there's something wrong with you. Because majority of proper attorneys, they are in the office until very late at night. It's very easy to read, because they must do a lot of reading. There's no one. It's you and your books preparing this affidavit, this letter, making references and all of that. During the day, isn't it, you are doing consultations? You don't have time to read. During the day, you are in court. You don't have the time to read, write letters, or even, finalize affidavits. But when teachers knock off at 2, the lawyer also is gone. Gone. Then you must know we have a problem. Before we crash the white system, let's build a system, because we may crash the white system and not have any system in place. Let's build the system. Let's use the system of white capital to build our own system, while we are gradually taking them out. It's like the land. I will never be part of any political formation that says, let's go and take the land from white people, let them go, and then we'll give black people the land. None of us in this room have bonded with the land. Arna bond, we just see it as it was like, I want our land, that land must come, that land must come, that land must come. And when they bring it here with the tractors and the seeds, leave the ANC mistake of not giving you the tools to work the land. We're going to give you the land with the tools. But if I said to white people, go away, and then we give you the land with the tools, I'm going to get a call from you, Julius. How do we drive a tractor by? Just a basic thing of driving a tractor. So we are not going to commit suicide. We are going to take the land and then gradually develop ourselves and become equal to these fellows. They don't want equality. You don't have to kill them. I don't know why they were beating them in Zimbabwe and all that. These people don't want equality. You don't have to drop blood. Once you are at their level, they can't tolerate it. They're going to leave. They're going to leave. So when they were taking my properties, they left one property in a plot there in some useless place in Polokwane. That plot is amongst poor whites. You know why they stayed there? When people started moving into Bendo and Flora Park and all that in Polokwane, those racists moved and went to occupy some land there, extremely dry land. That's where they stay. No one has done anything to them. No one has beaten them, nothing. But the way they are so racist, they couldn't tolerate white black neighbors. They moved on their own. So we must do that. We must not do anything to them. We must do something to you, not to them. Leave them. Don't do anything to them. Once we're finished with you, it comes automatic. They hate the EFF not because EFF has got guns or is training people. They hate it because it's speaking the language of equality. And they don't want that. They will never tolerate equality because they cannot share the same status with monkeys. That's how they view us. We are subhuman. They will never be at the same level with subhuman. How do you resolve it? You empower the subhumans to assume a status of human beings. And that is a threat to white supremacy. How do we do it in the banking sector? We must have a state-owned bank which recognizes black tax. Or no, but this one will not have collateral. It's actually going to have to start building collateral. With building the mother and the father a home. And then when he finishes, he must come to himself or herself. Before you become any active, when people talk investment, hey, property is expensive, you are not even thinking about that. You are not there yet. You are still resolving the mother. Then you. Then you'll start looking at those things of real estate. And then commercial banks charge white people less interest because they say they are a less risk. But it was supposed to be the other way around. You must be charged less because you are still paying a black tax. So once you assume a certain, and they will know. If you now have a house of your own, you've got a car of your own, they will say, now it looks like we're dealing with a person who's now empowered. So we have to do everything else for black people. I said we are a party of black people, and some journalists said this party used to call itself a progressive left internationally, and therefore look at how it refers to itself. And I then assumed this is overrated amongst EFF people. They take him too serious. I then knew he has not read the EFF material. Because the EFF material speaks about Fanon, Lenin, and Marx. We deliberately brought Fanon because we wanted to deal with the race question. That before we deal with class question, in the South African struggle, in the African struggle, there is an issue of race which must be addressed. And if you doubt, go and listen to the submissions during the public hearings on land. A poor white person, landless white person, and an African landless person don't speak the same language. Isn't it? They are both working class. So their demands must be the same. But in South Africa, working class demands are not the same yet because they are still divided according to race. A working class person, a white working class person has got no confidence in a black working class person. That's why in Sasol, a union of white people marched when Sasol said he's giving shares to black people. Union. Yet these people are all working class. They said they are giving the shares to black workers, not people. And then the union said, what? It's not going to happen that. These are supposed to be the same class. Why? At the center of every division that existed in South Africa was race. And for as long as you have not resolved the race question, you can forget about the rest. And every time you speak about the race, they are going to say, that's the only thing he knows. He always pulls a race card. I'm pulling it forever. I'm not even ashamed. I pull it all the time. They want to make you feel ashamed, and they want to make you feel as if you are intellectually challenged. Once they make you feel small like that, you suppress yourself and you don't deal with the real issue, which is race. It's race at the center of everything. That's why we called a meeting of black professionals. What are you going to discuss with white professionals if they are there? Because most of them are not. If you go to agriculture, she was complaining about agriculture. If you go to agriculture, most of those people have not been to school. They've inherited those farms. The other day I went to buy a bull in a farm. I find a white young boy who couldn't speak in any other language except Afrikaans. I mean, if all of us here sitting here, the only language we speak is your mother tongue, you must know you are illiterate. You must know your mother tongue, yes, but you must know other languages because you don't exist in isolation. So I'm looking at this young man, I'm like, he's going to inherit this farm. And he's going to hire black professionals. And then you are going to come here and complain that no, our bosses are not educated, we know we are doing the job. Your bosses have not been to school. They have inherited these things. They have inherited this. They have not seen a need to go to school. So we need to empower black people. A black bank must be established. A state-owned bank must be established. There must be an insurance companies of black people which knows that uncle is not an extended family. It's my father. My uncle is my father. My aunt is my mother. We have no cousins. We are brothers and sisters. I find it very difficult to refer to my cousins as cousins. It's like I'm rejecting them. There is nothing we did, me and them, that suggests we are cousins, which siblings don't do. We grew up in the same house, ate in the same plate, went through the struggles together. So we have no cousins, we have brothers and sisters. We have no extended families. It's my uncle is my father, my aunt is my mother. We need, even companies that you are working for, to know that you must get a leave to go and bury those people. Because they refuse you to go. And say, no, you only go to the wife and the kids and the parents, mother and father. Sister, sometimes some allow, but otherwise the rest is extended family. At times, my neighbor is my father. And I can bring all types of material evidence to demonstrate that I am what I am because of this person. I can bring that. When I started school, the first person who took me to grade 1 was my neighbor who signed as a guardian and said, I'm responsible. Why? Because our family was a child-headed family. It's not me, I'm talking about a situation like that. There are child-headed families where neighbors take the children to school. You become a doctor. You want to put this neighbor in your policies. You want to look after this person who looked after you. White people do not know that. Where is the African black-owned insurance company? Where is the medical aid that knows those dynamics? So, hey, we are not in Africa. We are in Europe. Everything we're doing here is Europe arrangement. It's not our own arrangement. Look at the buildings that are going up now. We are very spacious people, even when we have nothing. But look at the apartments and the flats they are building now. We are in Europe. As if we don't have land. They don't want to expand. They are all concentrated here in Sandton. Where everything is modeled the European way. Because there is absence of political will to deliberately intervene. And say, yeah, this is our insurance company. There's going to be element of eating the money. Yeah, I don't even think the money is not going to be eaten. It's going to be eaten. We must arrest. When the money gets eaten, we must arrest. The second one will say that one had a bad luck and eat again, arrest. We arrest until we get it right. We don't give up and say, hey, these things of black people is not working. We must arrest. VBS, money eaten, arrest. Don't close VBS. Arrest the criminals. Save the bank of black people. Let's perfect it. I was being told now that Japan, they actually arrested the Toyota fellow. That Toyota, Nissan, is it Nissan? Okay, Toyota. That Toyota thing, they've tried it so many times, it was failing. They've never gave up on it. Every time it fails, they put money. Every time they fail, put money. And it was not failing deliberately. Amongst other things, it was being sabotaged by those who are involved already in that space. You remember the cold drink Pepsi? We started drinking Pepsi, Coca-Cola, realized there's a problem here. They went to buy all those bottles of Pepsi and they went to destroy them. So that when you look for Pepsi, you don't find it. And you're like, this thing, what is the point of falling in love with it because it's not there? And then someone will come and say, Pepsi failed in South Africa. They are going to make us fail, not because we are not able to run these things. We must not give up on each other so easily. We must always give each other support. Even these lawyers I'm talking about, these doctors I'm talking about, we are not going to give up on them, but we are going to tell them, or we are polar. You are embarrassing us. Because your failure is going to be counted amongst black failures. We are all going to be painted with the same brush as if we are failures because of you. We must tell each other when we are together. And then when they come, we close the ranks and say, what? What are you? But amongst ourselves, when we meet like this, we must be honest with each other. Children are beating teachers at school. There's nothing we can do at school. It has to start at home. There's nothing we can bring corporal punishment. We are going to kill these people. I can tell you now, we are going to kill them. It has to start at school. I mean at home. When a teacher says to me, your child has not written a homework, hey, it must be a war. You know, teacher, leave that. I'll come back to you. Just leave it. The teacher must see a completely different human being the following day. Completely. Completely. I get told, you know, Ratanan comes home with a homework of a heart. This heart thing has got all types of names and all that. Then he tricks me, he says, no, I'm going to a party. No, are you done with those things? Say, no, I'm fine. Then he goes. When he comes back, they tell him, you release this guy to go to a party. He doesn't know the homework yet. The heart is waiting for him. But this fellow said he's done with the heart. But no, he's not done. I called him. Come here. In my room. I never touched him. Or I said so many things. I can't remember what I said. And then I said, you know what? After everything else, 12 o'clock tomorrow, I want you to tell me the names of everything there, because that thing's not mathematics. Nothing changes there. There's no formula there. It's names. Those names will never change. You are going to know those names. And then the teacher shall call me tomorrow telling me you know the names. Tomorrow, the teacher calls me and says, hey, I don't know what you did. I did what a parent must do. When I leave it to me, we cannot blame teachers. We must take full responsibility as parents. Those people will never do anything to correct our children. I was saying to some Indians that one day I called Indians Makula, and I got into a big trouble. And I was like, why are these people having problems with me? Calling them Makula. Okay, this is how they are being called. But the reality is that I had my grandmother calling them Makula. So I knew my grandmother can't say a wrong thing or a vulgar thing or anything of that sort. So it was right. Until I was told, no, it's not an acceptable word to be used. So that which you learn at home, you carry with you everywhere. Teachers, if they find disciplined kids and they are not disciplined themselves, our children are going to tell us, you know, they're at school. Our teacher does this and this. No, it's fine. Let me check with a colleague who's got a child there. Are you getting the same feedback? Yes. Then we confront the school. If we have disciplined kids, our teachers will just fall into line, because they will know that these children give feedback at home. Through the school work, we'll also see if you check your children's school work. Violence, my brother, is a South African problem. It's not a problem of children at school. We are a violent society. And every time children do violence in schools, you want to send police, making it more violent. The problem is not the children, the problem is this society. It's a sick society. It needs a medication. And police is not the type of medication we're looking for. We don't need police, we don't need soldiers. We need ourselves to occupy our rightful place. We are the people we are waiting for. There's no one who's going to come anyway. We are the people who are waiting for. Let's take our rightful place in society. Let's reform the streets. The same goes to domestic violence. It's us. It's at home. I can take as many platforms as I want. If my father beats up my mother, and my mother goes for 3 weeks, and then she comes back, then I think, oh, this is the arrangement. She must be beaten, she must go, and then she will come back until she goes forever. So the beater teaches me that they must be beaten. And the victim also teaches me that after being beaten, I will go, and then I must come back. So my wife must do the same. Works with us because we want women who look like our mothers. When you look for a woman, you look for something closer to the mother. When you look for a wife, why? Because that is the first woman you know. So you look at it, and then when she does not do things the way your mother do them, no matter, my mother was not doing things like this. Everything boom. It ought to start with us to stop the violence at home and resolve issues properly. Let's talk about them. Let's be as robust as we can, but let's not throw insults. Let's not engage in a physical violence. Kids should know that people can argue as if they are going to touch each other. And then after that, they eat together from the same plate. Because the issue was this issue. The issue is not life. It's this issue which makes us to disagree. We've spoken about it. It's done. Let's go on. We shouldn't disagree, and then after disagreeing, then everything falls apart. Domestic violence starts with me. I've never beaten my wife. I've never beaten my children. I've got a 12-year-old. I've never beaten him. But he knows that when I'm around, no, the chief is around. There must be order. But I've never touched him. I've never touched my wife. Why should you do that? Maybe I was fortunate because I didn't have that arrangement of a father and a mother. Maybe the bastard would have finished my mother in front of me. And then I go around beating people, following the footsteps of a bastard. So I grew up with women only. My grandmother, my mother, 8. She had 8 siblings, 1 boy. And then I went into Winnie Mandela's hands, so I couldn't differentiate Winnie from a man. Because everything the man did, she did. Many people don't know that Winnie actually, there are people who wanted to arrest me about guns and all that. Many people don't know that she actually, when people were doing fireworks on the 31st, Mbuizen's friends are here. Are they here? Or let me not say. Yeah, so she will, when people do fireworks, she will go and do the other things. And real stuff, and automatic stuff. And it runs properly. So I look at her and I look at her. She was actually more stronger than a lot of men. So if you want to say man is strong, then I would rather follow women, because I've seen a more powerful woman, more powerful than men, and men were scared of her. During the burning of the ANC, she was the only one who could carry the ANC flag, not even men, not even Dalimpo, who behaves like a brave person here. He couldn't carry the flag of the ANC in the 80s. Only Winnie can carry it daylight. So who said men are stronger than women? There's no such a thing. There's no such a thing. You are coming here saying to us, whites are earning more than you. But it is the same you, if we're to give women the same salary as you are going to feel inferior. Well, no, I can't date a woman with the same salary with me. I can't marry a woman with a salary more than me. That is inferiority. It's the same thing that whites are suffering from. They are so inferior that they think if we earn the same salary, they will no longer enjoy the status of privilege. So that which you don't want whites to do, you must not do as well. In your firm, in your engineering firm, let there be equal pay for equal work, even for women. You shouldn't say equal pay for equal work when it's black and white, but when it's male and female, no. It's the same. So all of these things are going to be done. They are possible. We're pushing this thing. Don't worry. We've got this. Only death can stop us. Not even death can stop us because ideas are out there. It's a waste of time to even think. We must fight corruption because corruption is the only thing that undermines leadership of Africans. We must fight it, especially when it happens amongst us. We must not defend each other when you are found with your hand in a cookie jar. That thing is a problem of corruption. But we have a problem in this country. It's a corruption when it's done by a black person. No. By African. It's not corruption when it's done by Indians or whites. It's not. Today, EFF is corrupt in the eyes of these people. You know why? They want to suppress the EFF so that it becomes so scared to speak about corruption. Because Udarosa corruption was VBS. Their corruption is VBS. They say VBS because they want to silence you. Let's say for a second EFF got money from VBS, right? Which we're disputing we have not received. Let's say they received. The ANC received money from VBS, which they've accepted. Communist Party has received money from VBS. There is a proof. They are not being mentioned as VBS looters. VBS looters is the EFF. Why? It must be silenced. It must be silenced. It must be silenced because we must not be told by EFF who's corrupt. We must be the only ones who decide who's corrupt. No one else. So if it's left to them to decide who's corrupt, Pravin will never be corrupt. Never. Pravin's daughter has got 11 companies who have done business with government. Fair enough, the response is, no, the companies belong to Investec, not to her. And therefore, she never received any money from those companies. Then they said, close, it's done. Shibambo got money from VBS, and then they say, then we say, no, he did business with VBS. Here is a contract. These are the invoices and all of that. They say, no, bring a bank statement. Right? But Godani's daughter doesn't bring a bank statement. We're told, yes, she has never received any money. We must accept that. It's done. Because it's said by an Indian and it's said by white media. We must accept it. No, it's done. Never. She never received anything. No one says, bring the bank statement. The daughter. But what is conflict of interest? Because why did Investec not pick up any other child to go and sit there as a director? They knew what they were doing. They were not, it's not by luck. They knew what they were doing. They appointed Pravin's daughter. They got jobs. Only 11 ministers. We asked ministers, have you done business with these companies? Only 11 ministers have so far answered. Only with those 11 ministers, those companies have done business to the value of 100 million. More than 100 million. It's not news. It's not front page. What is the front page of Mail and Guardian? It's an opinion piece. How do you have an opinion piece in front page? Opinion piece about EFF. Front page is breaking news or news, not opinion piece. And then you come and say, I'm a professional. But you don't ask yourself critical questions. Since when can opinion piece be a front page if this is not an onslaught against the EFF? And why the onslaught on the EFF? It must be silenced. It must be silent. No, there is Malema's cousin. There is Shibambo's this. Malema's cousin is not my son or my daughter. And Malema is not even a minister or a mayor. Malema can't influence anything. Malema has not told any municipality to put money in VBS. But the people who told their municipalities to put money in VBS so that they can go and catch it that side are not the looters of VBS. Malema and the VPFF are the looters of VBS. On the VBS again, Communist Party, 3 million. The branch manager of VBS goes to the investigating committee. He tells them, we paid 3 million for Communist Party. It's not in the report. We go and add the evidence. Now there's evidence. It's still not an issue. Now we've asked the transcript of the hearings. We'll share them with South Africa. That hearing was about EFF. Everybody was called in that hearing. Did you give money to Malema? Did you give money to EFF? Did you give money to Shibam? But we were told there is an investigation on VBS. It was an investigation on the EFF. Now, there were ministers, and Monday were writing letters to all ministers to ask them if they had loans or bonds with VBS. There were ministers who had bonds with VBS. When the investigation started, they found them in the loans, in the VBS bonds. They were called, remove your bond into the mainstream banks because we want to release the report on the EFF. And then you sit here and want to behave like this is an honest thing against the EFF and all of that. There is no such a thing. The EFF must be silenced. That's Pravin's daughter. We asked Pravin questions. Do you have an account in Canada? No journalist has asked Pravin that question till today. They say, yeah, Pravin's daughter has been cleared. As if we are about Pravin's daughter. We're not about Pravin. That was, by the way, the father. Do you have an account in Canada? That question is not answered. How many times have you visited Canada? We stood on the track of the EFF and said, Pravin has got an account in Canada. People who had problems of tax were told to pay some money into that thing to have their problems disappear. Pravin has got a relative in Canada who looks after those interests there in Canada. Pravin has frequented Canada when he was in the SARS and when he was a minister. We've asked him simple questions. What were you doing there? How many times were you visiting that place? What were you doing? With who were you visiting Canada? It's simple questions. 10 days has passed. Pravin has not answered those questions according to parliament rules. But Pravin is untouchable. I want to ask you here and now that if this thing that we're asking Pravin about, if it was Fikile Mbalula, what was going to happen? That Mbalula's wife has got a tender and Mbalula has got an account. You are going to see it everywhere, but they're not speaking about it. If Mbalula had an account in Canada, Amabunga and Scorpio of Daily Maverick would have by now sent investigative journalists into those countries. Why haven't they not sent any journalists to go and investigate if Praveen has got an account in Canada? EFF must be silenced because it's now going after the main people, the main culprits who are in bed with white monopoly capital. Our problem is not ANC. ANC is long captured. Leave this thing, hey, capture, hey, capture, hey, capture. Stellenbosch captured ANC when ANC was in exile. The first meeting of the ANC National Executive Committee, when they landed in South Africa, when they got unbanned and landed in South Africa, the first National Executive Committee meeting took place in a Rupert's farm in Cape Town. On arrival, many of them didn't know who was Rupert. They were not told the venue where they are going. They just got into cars straight into Rupert's farm. Our beloved grandfather, Nelson Mandela, stayed in a house of Minel's family. Minel's family, they are one of the richest mining people in South Africa. That's where the meetings were held with big capital, Oppenheimers, the Ruperts, everyone rich and white had easy access to Mandela because of the Minel's family. That's where everything else was sealed. That truth must never come out from anywhere. This Malema must be projected to be the most corrupt person so that when he speaks, no one listens to him, no one takes him serious. All of them must be they must be projected to be corrupt because this truth must never come out. When you take it out, we hear Minel, but your cousin. We hear Minel, VBS. That's how they want to distract you. And you, fellow South Africans, you fall for it. You fall for absolute nonsense, which is driven by your oppressors, who choose who becomes your leader, who doesn't become your leader. Ramaphosa participated in the killing of people in Marikana. There's nothing wrong about him. He's a leader. Ramaphosa takes the money from Busasa. He's not a Busasa looter. He's fine. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He answers a question. He says the answer, he was talking about something else. Okay, then now we know there are 500,000. There are 500,000. There is the one that went into his trust and the one of the son. When Ramaphosa speaks, no one says to Ramaphosa, you are son. When Praveen speaks, no one says you are Jordan. But when Malema speaks, you are cousin. I must die for my cousins, who are not my children. My cousins are too many. All of them are doing business. All of them. I don't know who they do business with. I'm not interested. And I'm not going to stop them. They must do what they want to do. Otherwise, to feed their children. They must feed their own children. They must do, and there is no one. I've even heard Cyril say, my son doesn't do business with the government. I will never say to any of you here, don't do business with government. Government is the biggest business institution in this country. Because the second business is white business, which is not open for anyone. So if you don't do business with government, then you will never do business with whites. Therefore, you don't do business. What business are you doing? Because there are two people you can do business with. The other one is government, the other one is white business. Who are you going to do business with? Even the white business needs government to do business. Let's take, for instance, the red blade at a fire blade at airport. They needed government. The Oppenheimers needed government permission to open the fire blade. So who said I don't need government to do business? When the richest people need government, And I must go and tell my cousins, I must go and tell the black business, don't do business with government. Where are you going to do business? Who are you going to do business with? The only thing I can tell you is, don't be corrupt. Yes. Or avoid corrupt dealings at all times, because they've got to come back. Yeah. But even when you are not corrupt, they will say you are corrupt. I can tell you now, anyone with a security company, let's go now and get a tender in the Department of Justice. You must know, as a black person who get a security tender in the Department of Justice, means you removed a white security company, because I guess before it was white security companies. And once you remove white security companies, you're corrupt. This one connect with this one. And they're going to find you with the EFF or ANC or something. Why? Because we are a big family but yet small. We trade together amongst ourselves. You either